Presenting Sweet Summer's Child. This is the title page to the 1609 quarto of Shakespeare's Sonnets. Sonnets 17 and 18 are companion poems not difficult to understand. We are meant to read them in this order. The author's own words contradict this recent book published in 2020 by Cambridge University Press, edited by Sir Stanley Wells and Paul Edmondson. According to one reviewer, the book is an attempt to discredit doubters. The reviewer goes on to say that Edmondson and Stanley Wells have let their fancies fly. They contradict generations of previous scholars who have seen a continuous narrative from the first to the 154th sonnet, which involves the poet, the fair youth, and a dark lady. And some scholars even say there's a rival poet in the sonnets. Let's reclaim the sonnets from these academics. Sonnet 17 could be about the poet's lover. But is it really about her? Sonnet 18 could be about the poet's lover. But is it really about her? To find out what both poems are about, we first look at Sonnet 18. There is a clue here to count in the counting dot just after the sonnet number. Eternal is repeated twice for another clue. There is a clue to count in the triple repetition of summer. It follows the tria sunt omnia principle. The tria sunt omnia principle is where a word or item is repeated 3 times suggests that there's a hidden truth or a profound truth somewhere on the page. The word fair is repeated 3 times. For another example of the principle, 4 more words are repeated twice each. And is repeated twice, once above the other. Nor is repeated twice, once above the other. And so long is repeated twice. This gives us a third example of the tria sunt omnia principle. So let's count. The gematria sum of all uppercase letters is 264. We add the sonnet number to that to get 282. We then add the number of lines. The sum of the digits 296 is the previous sonnet number. Now we'll find clues to count in sonnet number 17. Heaven is repeated twice. Number is repeated twice in line 6. Fresh here means new. Touch is repeated twice in line 8. These line numbers add to the sonnet's number, 3 plus 6 plus 8. The word and is repeated in the left-hand margin just as in sonnet 18, one right above the other. Forms of the word true appear twice. Meter implies measurement. Twice in line 14 implies duplication or addition. And half in line 4 implies splitting something into 2 equal parts. The sonnet number is followed by 18 words. Finally, 18 words begin with uppercase letters, linking it to the next sonnet. Now we'll look at the words to find evidence that they have to be read together. We will look at both of them together. The sonnets are connected by the word heaven. Twice it appears in Sonnet 17 and once in 18. For another example of the tria sunt omnia principle, Sonnet 17 mentions a child or a descendant of the subject of the poem, which leads to Sonnet 18. We can infer that Sonnet 18 might be about a child. Let's explore that idea. What if the poet gave hints through numbers? And what if he gave us clues as to dates? The word date appears in line 4, directly below the month of May, which is on line 3, a sacred number. The uppercase letter R has a gematria value of 17, and the uppercase M in May has a gematria value of 12. But in Hebrew and Greek gematria, the letter has a value of 40. So this becomes a 1740 clue. The normal Latin gematria values of both letters add to 29. And when we subtract the number of words in the line, we get 20, which is equal to the letter V. We can infer that those numbers indicate identity. May is the 24th word in the poem. Summers, on the line below, is the 26th word. And if the person is being compared to summer, we can infer that the word positions indicate a birth date. Could it be May 24th or May 26th? There was one poet with a child born at exactly that time of year. It was a daughter whose birth date is recorded as May 26th, 1587. That is the position of the word summers. However, it was customary to register a birth 1 to 2 or more days later to see if the child would survive, which means her actual birth date could easily have been May 24th. But for the sake of argument, let's stick with the 26th. Let's see what the poem now says. Rough winds on line 3 suggests she is in some sort of difficulty. Declines on line 7 suggests illness, which occurs randomly or with aging. The line says, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. By chance is of course randomly. Nature's changing course untrimmed means probably aging. The next line, the poet says he doesn't want her to grow older. He says, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. 2 lines later, he says, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. He doesn't want her to be ill. The last 3 lines, he says he will immortalize her in his poem. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Who is she? This line in the center of the poem gives us a clue. He puns on the family line on line 7. And he puns again on line 10. The line numbers 7 and 10 add to 17. We have seen this number before. The month of May is on line 3. These line numbers add to 20, which has the gematria value of V. The word every is also on line 7. It is a pun on the father's name. The first fair is the 51st word in the poem, which is 17 times 3. It is the third time we can derive the number 17 from something simple in this sonnet. And if we add to this that the number 20 is the letter V in gematria, we can conclude the pun name on these lines is Vere. The number 17 stands for Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, which means the poems are about his younger daughter, Susan. There is proof in the sonnet's numbers. Their digits add to 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. 8 plus 9 is, of course, 17. The gematria sum of all these uppercase letters which touch the decorative initial letters is 119, or 17 times 7. Let's look at how the sonnets connect. As we have shown, Sonnet 17 sets us the idea of a child, the real subject of Sonnet 18. We can ask now, how old was she when these were written? She was most likely 3, so we can date these poems accurately to 1591. What are the darling buds but her fingers and toes? Again, we suggest that rough winds means she is ill, which is confirmed on line 7. Every fair means every family member. From fair indicates patrilineal descent. The line explains to her that family members get ill, as in the following: every Vere from Vere sometime declines. This is the central conceit or idea on line 7, therefore it is the most important idea in the poem. These lines are how any proud father would describe his child. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Her most high deserts, from line 2 of Sonnet 17, are described again in part in lines 1 and 2 of Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Her heavenly touches are her eternal summer. Heavenly touches is on line 8. Eternal summer is on line 9, and of course 8 plus 9 is again 17. Does this mean her true rights are that she should be known as the daughter of the real poet? And does this line in Sonnet 18 say she will be forever loved by her father? But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that Vere thou owest. In other words, he's calling himself that Vere, and she owes him her life and well-being. These lines are those which tell her life is in the poems. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet heaven knows it is but as a tomb which hides your life and shows not half your parts. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee, reinforces that idea. Line 3 in Sonnet 17 ends with tomb, but that is not a proper rhyme to the first line's final word, which is come. I would suggest that tomb is a pun on tome, meaning book. But why does he not use a plural here? Why does he say a tomb? Is it because these are in reality one poem? Sonnet 17 sets us up for perhaps the most tender poem in any language. A quick point about the comma at the end of the sonnet is in order. I believe it acts like the ellipsis periods in modern texts, or three dots, in which something unstated is implied. So let's imagine he is holding her in his arms and reciting these slowly to get the meaning clear. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet heaven knows it is but as a tome, which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage and stretched metre of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive at that time, you should live twice in it and in my rhyme. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease had all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every veer from veer sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that veer thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal limes to come thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. What is left unstated after the comma is, I love you. Let's repeat those last lines, okay? So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. I love you. Now we glimpse a real person behind these words. A man who treats his youngest daughter with great tenderness. So I ask you, has the author's own words proving these scholars have got it wrong? Can you read these poems in just any order? Are they merely thought experiments as they claim? Or are they deep expressions of a father's love for his ailing child? Thanks for watching, and stay safe.